When your potential customers ultimately trust you more, you're going to end up winning more jobs and hopefully winning higher ticket jobs. And this is what I'm seeing a lot within home service businesses and agency owners that are not stacking unfathomable amounts of social proof and trust into the minds of their prospects. And this is where you really start to see the trust wheel working within businesses. And that's exactly what I'm going to go ahead and cover in today's video. We're going to cover how to stack social proof into the minds of your customers 10 times better than your competitor, why social proof is the most important metric that you need to be focusing on, and how to get crazy amounts of social proof if you're just starting out. Hey everybody, my name is Jordan Danzy. I'm a marketing and home service fanatic, and I've personally worked with over 30 plus different home service businesses in multiple different niches and got some pretty crazy results to show for it. And now I'm trying to build the #1 community for marketers, agency owners, and home service businesses that are looking to thrive, and it's called the 3-Pillar Framework, which, by the way, you can check out in the description and try it 7 days for free. And let's go ahead and get into the video. I've tried to film this twice already, so I bet it'll go a little bit faster. So the first thing that you really need to be focusing on is building trust before the sale, right? And this is super, super crucial because what most businesses fail to truly realize is that before they even reach out to you, they have gotten some point of social trust in their business. And so typically people will either convert that they're going to convert before they look you up, right? So before they convert on their ads, they're going to look you up. And then second, people are going to typically convert or look you up after they've converted on the ads. Sorry, I got that a little mixed up. Just look at my notes if I ramble too much. But 1 is they're going to look you up before they convert, or 2 is they're going to look you up after they convert. So the biggest question is how do you build trust before the sale? And this really gets into the judgment zone of businesses. And I think you need to dominate this judgment zone as hard as humanly possible. And we all know the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. And the sad thing is businesses are 100,000% judged by their cover, and there's no way around it. There's no way to stop it, because before anyone actually uses the businesses that they're going to go for, and we're guilty of this as well, if you're looking for a restaurant or whatever the case may be, you're typically going to look it up. And when people look up businesses, they're looking for 3 things. They're looking for social proof, so other people saying how good it was. They're looking for Google reviews, which is another form of social proof. And then they're looking for red flags. This is just how it is. You look up the restaurant, a lot of people just go to lowest reviews and see okay, what's the worst, right? And then they look at the best. And if the best outweighs the worst, then you've won the client. And while it might sound hard in doing that, and that's the typical way, there's ways that you can help this, and there's ways that you can succeed in the judgment zone, and that's exactly what I'm going to kind of go over. So the first thing is you have to dominate the judgment zone by 1, just standing out and having, basic things. Have a good looking website. No, the website doesn't need to be crazy. Mine for tinting is super simple, and it could be worked on, right? But all you really need to be focusing on is a home page, an about page, a work page, and then maybe a contact us page. And by work, I mean see our work. I don't think prices should really be on pages unless it's something lower ticket, where everybody's prices is available online. I think everything should be pushed to the phone, so you actually have a chance to sell them on why your prices are higher. When you post prices on websites, you can disqualify a lot of people right away, and that's not what you want to do. The second thing that you need to be focusing on to dominate this judgment zone is a fully optimized Google My Business. This sounds simple, and it is, yet 90% of home service businesses don't do it. Agency owners don't really need to Google My Business, but home service guys, is absolutely crucial nowadays to have this, because this is where everybody goes. And having a fully optimized one isn't just having good looking reviews, it's having photos that are meta tagged, it's having products and services in there, it's having videos in there, offers and updates that are regularly posted. Optimizing this is the easiest thing you can do to get more free leads coming your way. Seriously. The next thing is a strong brand authority. If you're looking at 2 different companies, right, and company A is just some guy who shows up in a unbranded hoodie, in a random outfit, and maybe he's even a little dirty from the job, and then the next guy shows up in a bright blue truck with bright blue shoes and a really nice looking polo, and you can tell they care about how they look. It speaks to the customer more than people like to believe. And I know some people are show up however you want. I get that, but I truly believe showing up branded is 10 times more like it commands more authority and more respect from the customer, regardless of some customers that you're working for. The next thing is your social media profiles have to look alive. If you haven't posted in a year, I'm gonna think you're out of business, honestly. So if you're that guy who's like, man, I haven't posted on my social medias for a whole year. Well, in my opinion, if I'm looking at you, and I like to look at social medias, obviously, because I'm a marketer, one, but if I'm looking at it and you haven't posted in a year, I'm guessing you went out of business and I'm moving on to the next guy. So the social media is just to show that the business is alive. And then if you could also put in there like value points, educational content, testimonial content, you're really going to start to build up a lot of trust before the sale. And that's going to make it 10 times easier for them to outreach to you. And I think that's where a lot of businesses right now are slacking, is in the content and social media game. And then on top of this, you undeniably have to have strong social proof. And what I mean by that is you need to race towards 25 plus Google reviews. I think at 20, they start to show you a little bit better on the Maps pack, but 25 with pictures. Google likes to show picture reviews to people first because they can see the product. Super, super big there. And then on top of that, you need to run to 1 or 2 like actual content testimonials. And the big reason for this is it's one thing to speak yourself about how good your brand is or how good your product is, your exceptional customer service, maybe even prices, right? And how you work with customers. But at the end of the day, when your customer is willing to stand behind a camera, and to them, like to you, this probably isn't a big deal, but to them it is. When they're willing to stand behind a camera, put their face on the internet, and then put their face on the internet to be an advocate for your brand, that speaks numbers to people, because it's not you, right? It's your customer who's willing to do it for you because they probably want you to get more work. That is huge. And I think customer, like client testimonials, is the most slept on thing in home service right now. I think it's so slept on. And why is like social proof mandatory? At the end of the day, you need social proof. And this is like going to be the easiest way to dominate the judgment zone, is by having social proof. And this is why I think it's mandatory. I know it's mandatory, actually, I don't think. Social proof is the easiest way to turn cold traffic into trusted traffic. Somebody who is like willing to talk about your brand rather than yourself is going to speak huge numbers to that potential customer that you're getting ready to serve. And without social proof, it's almost impossible to turn somebody into a trusted client or trusted traffic. And here's a really good example with this, right? This is totally theoretical, and this is just a very extreme example. A new restaurant is starting building, their business, right? They're going to come into a local town. They're hyping up their meals, the atmosphere. Maybe they're going for like an Italian style, and they are just preaching about how good this restaurant's going to be. They're getting the town super excited. And no matter what, as opening day gets closer, there are consumers that are just going to rush to something that's new because it's new, and new is exciting, right? So when you obviously like start your business, you're going to have that like new spree, right? Of like, oh, this is new, it's exciting, it's cool. You undoubtedly will have some customers rush towards you for that new phase, and that's okay. But what's going to happen is this restaurant, they're going to open, hypothetically, it's maybe going for an authentic Italian with some Paris, sprinkled in, however you want to say it, I don't care. But the crowd is going to rush there. But when that business opens, hypothetically, they are flooded with negative reviews because the food just wasn't there, right? The main product was there, the atmosphere was there, the style, the name, the hype, but the food sucked, right? And that's what people actually came for. And it's immediately flooded with, bad reviews. The restaurant went from excitingly new, right, to all of this hype because and even yourself, like you're super excited, and then all of a sudden it's dead, right? And that is the power of social proof. Now, it quickly, went from a 10 to a 1, all because customers didn't want to, they left reviews. And the people who didn't even try that restaurant aren't even going to, because they sat back and waited. So the people who didn't get to even experience the food won't experience the food because they wanted to see what it was first perceived and what other people thought of it first, right? They don't want to be the guinea pig. And that's super common with wealthy customers. Wealthy customers don't want to be a guinea pig because they want something that's proven, it's going to save them time, etc. So That is the power of social proof. And now it could be the complete opposite. Let's say people went in and they love the food, right? It's a 5-star hit. Everybody loves it. 5-star reviews are pouring in as fast as humanly possible. Suddenly the restaurant is busier on week 2 than it was week 1 because it was immediately packed with 5-star reviews, and people who are like, what's going on, right? Now have FOMO of what am I missing out on? And that's what you really want to create within your business and with all of the social proof, right? And you can see this within my content as well and my advertising methods for the 3-pillar framework in our school community is we have undeniable amounts of really good results, and I throw it out there, and I am so bold about what we've generated and what we've done, right? And people look at that and they go, what am I missing out on? That's how you generate demand. When your service is so good that you have so many reviews and people go, what's different about these guys and this guy? What am I missing out here? And what am I missing out on this little higher price? That's when you start to skyrocket your business. And when you create that FOMO around your brand and your business from undeniable social proof and undeniable trust building, you don't even got to watch the rest of the video. You can just skyrocket, right? And that's what we really want to be doing. So let's talk about how you can stack trust, right? Stacking trust is the harder concept of this. And this isn't gaining social proof, right? This is taking the social proof and actually stacking it onto people, right? Stacking it onto your potential customers. So the first thing is like, your look isn't the only place that it should be stacked. It shouldn't be stacked before. It should actually be in your sales process and the process which people go through the company. Now, I have a lot written here, but I'm just going to go ahead and actually kind of give you 2 examples. And this is how you stack social proof. Company A and Company B. And we're going to go ahead and say garage floor coatings, right? Because it's super simple. Company A is going to go ahead and let's say they're calling me and I'm trying to get my garage coated. I'm going to call both companies. Company A is going to go ahead and say, hey, like I'm busy, so I'm going to book them out a week. 1 week out, 1 week out on this one. Company A is just going to go ahead and like sit there and wait for the quote and maybe send a reminder and an on the way text message. Company B knows that I have a week-long time before I'm actually going to be there. More than likely, I'm going to forget about them. So with that long time, they're probably going to push to actually get me in sooner because Company B knows that the higher the intent is the sooner that they contacted you. When they contact you, that is the moment that they most want your service. So the longer they think about it or the longer that you don't think about it is the longer time that they're not going to get paid, right? So Company B is going to constantly remind me about what I'm exactly looking for. So during this time, they might reach out and say, hey, just checking in, we have your thing coming up in a couple of days. What exactly are you kind of looking for? Just so we can have some better things prepped for you, right? And this is typically either handled by automation or sales, but they're going to kind of peel back the onion in a sense of what am I looking for? What does this customer want? And they're going to do that before the quote, right? And then as well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. As well, like when you get closer and closer to the quote time, they're going to start sending you propaganda. Like, hey, check this out. Here's what we did on another customer, another job that's similar to the one that you're looking for. And the example would be of this is when they asked, what am I looking for? And I give them the answer, you give them more proof that this is exactly what they're looking for. That's huge. That's what you really want to do. So give them more proof that this is what they're looking for, and it's the exact thing they're looking for. And in my mind, I'm starting to gear more towards Company B because they have what I'm looking for. I still don't know if Company A has exactly what I'm looking for. And then on top of that, let's say it's something visual, like if it was an LED company, right? And I send them a picture of my house. Company A is going to say, oh, yeah, it's going to look beautiful when we get those lights on. But Company B sends an AI photo of the house at night with the lights already on it. I'm perceived more to be like, I want that look. That's what I want, right? They have what I want. That's what you're building. So you can see here that before the quote begins, we start stacking propaganda in front of these clients to start building more trust. And then vice versa, when the quote is there or after the quote, you do the same exact process. And then on top of this, I think the most important thing is when you send them the quote, when you actually get to the quoting phase, Company A is more than likely going to give me a rough estimate. Here's typically what the quote's going to be around. It's going to be anywhere from $4,500 to $5,000, let's say, right? So $4,500 to $5,000, and we're really busy, so I'm going to get you this quote in about 2 days. Is that okay with you? I'm going to say, okay, yep, that's fine. Company B is going to come a couple hours later, and they're going to give me this whole thing, and I'm going to be so like talking with the sales rep like I already know them. And how you should be perceived is when you arrive on site, they should already have a good expectation of what your expectations are, right? They should have a good expectation of what you already know, the quality of the service you're going to provide. They need to know you're the top dog before you get there. And you don't have to do that through the beginning phase of the judgment phase. And when you're in the quoting phase, and I think like the more extreme, like decision-making phase is what you can go ahead and call it, that's when you fill them. That's when you stack trust, because there's multiple ways to stack it. So you stack a lot of trust right in this decision phase. And when you send them the quote, right, and typically you're going to give them a price right there, right then, and you're going to send the quote immediately. And sometimes when you do that, you can rip deposits on site. We've ripped paid in fulls on site before. It's awesome. And so when you do that and you send the quote with them, not only are they going to look at the price, and maybe it's $5,500 for this company. I already see why it's $5,500 because I can see the value. And this is for customers where price isn't an issue, right? And that's, if you're targeting people like that, this is what makes more sense. Like, they're not even going to look at company A anymore. They're going to only focus on company B and even just, keep pushing company B. So what they're going to go ahead and do is they're going to send that quote and they're going to attach a customer testimonial at the end. I personally like to link the testimonial to my Instagram account, because on the company Instagram, there's a lot more content that they can go and get sucked into and like watch educational videos on why we're the best. Nobody's doing the quote thing, right? Nobody's sending testimonials, and nobody's looping that back into more content to get them down the rabbit hole. It is the easiest way to build a ton of trust at the point where they're getting ready to hand you their credit card. That is huge. And I think this is what is really, really working. Social proof of another customer's house, a mock-up, or overall just having like systems in place, like reminders, appointment reminders, quote follow-ups, just checking in when if you do have to send the quote later, you give them a call at the time. Like, having noticeable systems shows me that you care more, right? And that's just how people perceive it. It shows your customers that you care more. And to individuals who are, wealthier, right? And customers who price isn't the issue, they're just making sure that you put enough care into their home, right? And that's what they're looking for. So this is what really, really starts to stack customer trust, and what will 10x your business, or not 10x, this is figuratively, like 10x the trust building in your business rather than the competition. And it's how you dominate the trust building phase. On top of this, if you're struggling to actually get social proof, there's a couple of different ways. And other than like super serving the customer, which is, you should just super serve the customer. It's the easiest way to stack social proof, is to do amazing and go above and beyond. I say that like it's super simple, but you'd be amazed by how many companies don't go above and beyond. Is to, one, if you're just starting out, provide free work or at cost. This is what I did for my tinting company and my agency. I provided, at cost work to basically get the testimonials, the reviews, and the content. I went to my neighbor for the tinting company. I said, hey, I can't personally afford to tint your home for free, but would you be willing to pay the cost of the material, and I will tint your home, and all you have to do is get behind a camera and talk about my company. What was better is he was looking for the service, so it was a no-brainer in his eyes. This is the same thing I did for my agency when I was looking to start it. I went out of the gate and said, hey, this is typically like 10 times less than what you would pay anybody else, but I'm willing to do it because I want to get your business super crazy results, a lot of social proof for me, and then I can start advertising higher prices. That's exactly what I did with my first 3 clients. I gave them a stellar deal. Now, some people, if you really want to get it, find a good client and offer it for free. That's what I wish I would have done, is found, some really, really good businesses that I knew. Like, obviously I know what I know now, and I don't know what I knew then. Is like, if I knew I had the skill set now, I just offer it for free and use that as social proof. The second thing you can do is have your friends and family help. Now, this is a hot topic, and it's sometimes frowned upon by other people, but if you have, it's not against Google's terms of service, is to have friends and families help you out with reviews. What I think, to make it more justifiable in my mind is just provide some level of service for them. You know, if it's your family and you're trying to get reviews for the window cleaning business, just clean a couple windows, right? Like just provide some type of service so that way you feel good about it, they feel good about it, and you know, it's just a little bit more justifiable. And then the third is associations. And this one's a little bit hard. And I'm gonna go ahead and like kind of talk about this. So a couple of years ago when I was in my corporate job, I worked at a place and I sold units, right? So I sold these commercial buildings, or not even commercial buildings, more like storage, whatever you want to call it, to a certain type of client, right? And that was my job, was to manage it, and it was a long-term lease. So when I got my first mentor in my first community, they were like, use the associations of the sales you've already made for trying to get a online, gig, trying to get a different job in the sales world online. And while some might frown upon this, I think you can do it the right way. Is if you have some type of experience that you can associate to the person that you're interviewing for, or the agency owner or the business that you're trying to close, or the client that you're trying to, win over in your home service business. If you can provide an association that you've somewhat have experience in this, it can be helpful. Now, don't associate fallacies, right? Do not associate something that's completely wrong, because people can either sniff it out, or if they do find out that it's completely false, and they're going to find out typically because you didn't perform, then it just looks bad on you and your name. So associations are really good. The example I used is I sold about 1.2 million in commercial units. This is like long-term leases, right? So it wasn't anything like I sold 1.2 in a year. No, it was like over the course of 30 years, or over the course of 12 years, it was like $1.2 million. But I was able to use that number as an association to help me into my first high ticket role, which is in real estate and helping wholesalers, which was a fun sales role. Shout out Courtney if you're watching. But that was what I did there. So associations are really, really powerful as well. But in the end, social proof is what sells, and taking that social proof, packaging it up, and stacking it in your process is what's going to help you win 10 times more quotes. It's going to help you close more clients. And at the end of the day, just getting the social proof, caring about the customers, like client results or your customers' results, is what's going to be good. And the guys who effectively can generate real results and real amazing things for their clients and package that up and put it in their processes are the ones who are going to win. The guys who fake the results and package those in processes will be sniffed out. It's just inevitable. So that's everything I had for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more guides, templates, and so much more value or any type of marketing sauce for home service and agencies, check out the 3-pillar framework. It goes over so many things in terms of on-the-ground marketing strategies, local lead generation with Facebook and Instagram ads. On top of that, systems and content that's needed right now in the home service industry to scale. We've successfully helped over 40 plus different businesses from agency owners use this framework and get some pretty good, crazy results. So check it out. It's the link in the description. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next videos. Peace.